Hi, my name's Dave and you're listening to episode 80 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers, by scale modelers, all about scale models. The Scale Modeler Supply. Certified Australian made, the Scale Modeler Supply has created a comprehensive range of premium acrylic lacquer paints that have been specifically developed to cater for the scale modeler. Designed to use straight from the bottle, SMS paints have taken all the guesswork out of airbrushing. Simply shake the durable glass bottle and pour and spray for a fast drying and extremely durable result. The ever-growing range of SMS paints will suit all types of model builders, be it military, aircraft, train, car, science fiction or gunpla. SMS premium acrylic lacquer paints will have the colour to suit you. The Modeler Supply is also your one-stop shop for all weathering, brushes, masking, tools and other accessory needs. SMS paints and tools and accessories are available either directly from their website www.scalemodeler.com.au or through stockists across Australia, New Zealand, Singapore and the USA. And as a special bonus exclusive to our On The Bench listeners, you will get 10% off your next order by using the promo code OTB2020 when ordering direct from Scale Modeler. So go now to www.scalemodeler.com.au and place your order. We know you won't be disappointed. And hello and welcome to Ian.
G'day, Dave. Listeners.
G'day, Julian.
Good morning.
It sounds like he just got out of bed.
It's morning.
It is.
It is morning, and it's miserable outside.
Oh, it is. It's that terrible sort of misty rain which sticks to you.
Yes.
So, guys, what have you been up to since last episode? I'll start with you, Ian.
Not a thing, and I blame Julian.
Why do you blame Julian?
Well, Julian got me to basically convinced me to buy this new computer, and yeah, that's like been taking up my time.
Oh, you've been playing computer games, have you?
I've been hooked right into World of Warships.
Oh, wow, okay. All right, well, maybe we'll pass over to Julian and see what Julian's been up to.
Yeah, Julian, you want talking about models?
Yeah, I've been working on my two Italian planes, doing lots of detail painting in the interior.
Yep.
It's yeah. I mean, they're both. I sort of on one hand, I want. At one point, I wanted the Sagittario to be the one I focus on and get across the finish line first, because I can just paint the top green, right?
Yeah.
One color, quick and easy. I don't have to worry about some weird cloud camouflage scheme, But then, I started running into like some issues, some fit issues and things. Yeah. So it's slowing me down. Basically what happened was I glued the one of the wheel wells into the lower wings. And then when I went to put the upper wing on top, it's like, it's too thick.
Oh, no. You didn't dry fit first?
Huh?
You didn't dry fit first to test it?
No.
No.
But it's all right. Like I just attacked it with a file until it fit. Oh, it was a bit difficult to get to because it's already glued in. But fortunately, I haven't made the other one yet. So when I get around to doing that, I'll just file it down in a much easier fashion before gluing it in.
Lesson learnt. Yep. Lesson learnt.
Yes. We all do that with every kit.
Dry fit, dry fit, dry fit.
Yeah, well, I'm building one good fitting kit alongside one bad fitting kit. So I got caught up in one and it affected my perception of the other.
Oh, dear.
So what about you, Dave? What have you been doing?
I'm still just sort of chugging along on that Mirage kit of the Flower Class Corvette. I was doing the superstructure, and it's got all this delicate little piping around the funnel. And as I was taking off the sprue, it sort of shattered into about 6 different sort of pieces. So
Ouch.
I thought, oh, well. So rummaged around and found some brass tubing that looks fairly similar in size. So I bent that in place and using that instead. So pretty happy with that, the way that's going. It's just sort of plodding along because obviously I've still got work. So work takes up the bulk of my day. I'm not unlucky or lucky enough to sort of be stuck at home as such. Well, I am for work, but I'm doing work when I'm at home, which I've got to say, I'm not enjoying working from home. In fact, I detest it, to tell you the truth, because I find it a real struggle to sort of get into doing
motivation.
Well, yeah, and there's too many distractions at home. There really is. So I've really got to super drag myself to the computer and sit down and do some work stuff, and you think, I'll get up for a coffee now, or I'll make myself a piece of toast now, and then the dog comes up to you and the dog wants to go out for a walk, and it just drives me nuts.
Yep.
Really frustrating. Anywho, that's life. And
it makes it more difficult to compartmentalize.
It does, and some people have got strategies where they say, you have your laptop set up in a different room and actually get dressed as if you're going to work and do all that sort of stuff. I could be bothered doing that. So
yeah, I don't have that issue. I'm still doing 4 till 4 hours. 4 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. Nothing's changed for me.
Oh, well. Well, at least for us here in Australia, it looks like the curve is definitely flattening and dropping right off.
Well,
so
until people get silly.
Yeah, I think we've probably got about another, I reckon, 4 weeks of this, and they'll start taking the brakes off it a bit.
We'll wait and see, Dave.
We shall.
Yes, yep.
So, shall we dive in and have a look at what's new in the modelling world?
Yeah, mate, it's a good idea.
And first off, we can't start without talking about Wingnut Wings. And hasn't that been lighting up all the social media and the forums around the world?
Yes.
As you know, we sort of broke that news last week. The news is about 20 hours old by the time we went to record and spoke about it. And it's just been going on and on and on. And, I'm gutted. I really am. I'm gutted on 2 levels. I'm gutted for the people who work for Wingnut Wings. And I'm gutted for the fact that the modelling community have lost a what I have to say is a A-class manufacturer.
Yes. It'll just be interesting to see who's going to snap up the moulds.
Yes, and as I suspected, it goes deeper than Wingnut Wings itself. I think because Wingnut Wings was part of Weta and part of that whole sort of conglomerate that they've sort of been caught up in whatever's happening over there. And I'm not.
Basically the entertainment industry's been shut down.
Yeah, and
Weta is part of major. Well, Weta, one of major parts is the entertainment industry.
Yeah, and there's a whole heap of discussions over in New Zealand about public money subsidy for all that, and whether that sort of led to it or not, I don't know. I know that Peter Jackson's aircraft company, the one that does the building of World War One aircraft, they've laid off everybody except the maintainers now, is my understanding. So like you said, Ian, it comes down to how the molds are going to be sold off, and if they're going to be sold off, and who they're going to be sold to, and who can snap them up. And there's been some discussions, some people sort of spitballing perhaps who would they go to, like Edouard perhaps, or a company like that. I don't know. It's too early to say, I think. It's really too early.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
But
imagine what the pricing on eBay is going to be for the Wingnut Wings kits now.
Well, already we're seeing some increases in pricing on eBay, and I know that some of the retailers, at least they've kept a lid on it, and they're just sort of still talking normal sort of prices. But yeah.
Yeah, as I know my local retailer's got a nice little collection of wingnut wings. I might have to snap some up as a bit of an investment.
Yeah, yeah. The sad part is, what's going to happen with the Lancaster because they were.
Well, that was due to be released, well, by now.
Yeah, it was. It was. You're getting all close to it.
Mm. So whoever ends up with that, whew.
It's funny. We spoke about this because was it Hong Kong Models? What's the name of that company?
Yeah, HK Models.
HK Models, because they did their Lancaster, and Wingnut Wings about 2 weeks later announced they're doing theirs, and I mean they must be thinking, yay.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Too
So
true.
I think it's a story that's going to go on for a while, and we'll just have to wait and see what comes out.
Yeah, and wait and see who else, unfortunately, falls under the axe.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I think there's a bit of conflicting information at this point.
Yeah,
Because I'm hearing a lot of different things. I'm hearing on one hand, it's like their official statement is that it's a kind of a temporary close, but then you hear, what's his name? Is it Richard Alexander?
Richard
Yeah.
Alexander, yeah.
Yeah, he's
he's
saying
saying
it's a proper close, and he's been fired, and
Yeah.
the molds will be disposed of. But that doesn't seem like standard practice in the modeling industry. You know, they're worth something. They're an asset that they can be sold off and liquidated to. You know, that's what happens when they go under. You know, they just get sold off. So I don't know.
But disposing of the molds would be stupid.
Yeah, of course it would. But
That would be so stupid.
It's like that's what I mean. Like I think the dust hasn't quite settled yet.
No.
Something's happened. You know how maybe Wingnut Wins is properly gone, and I think that's probably quite likely. But I think the details are not quite sort of solidified yet.
No. Well, yesterday on Wingnut Wings, their website was, "We are sad to announce that due to challenges presented by the COVID-19, we have suspended all website orders for the time being."
That post has been up for a couple of weeks. That's been up since New Zealand.
No. This is one from 17th, which was yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So, as Julian said, there's lots of conflicting information out at the moment. But, well, it doesn't look good. But we just got to wait and see.
Well, I've got my fingers crossed that everything will turn out to be okay. I'm hoping for the best, but planning for the worst. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, we've got to sort of look at like what was going to happen in that space, because now there's going to be, until they get sold off and reproduced by a different company, if that happens, there's going to be a huge gap in the market, right?
Oh, definitely. People will be having to go past their old kits from the 70s and 80s of the World War I aircraft, which just aren't the same as the quality of the Wingnut Wings.
Yeah, but having said that, there's a lot of people out there who got big stashes full of Wingnut Wings, so that'll keep them going for some time. And there's that other company
but maybe it won't, because people will take the same attitude they always take with these. Now it's not just a Wingnut Wings kit that I could build later. Now it's a collector's item. I better not build this, and I'll hang on to it for 20 years until someone brings out a replacement kit, and then I'll be sad.
Yeah. We're funny like that, aren't we, Julian?
And there is that other company that does that builds World War I aircraft in 1/32 scale.
Copper State.
Yeah. And their kits from not that I've ever built one, but from what I've
seen one, and it's a beautiful kit.
Yeah,
I think it's a Newport 17 or something like that. It was a lovely kit.
Yeah, they're of the same standard as a Wingnut Wings kit. So, but they recently got sold off to a European owner, and they're being because it was actually in the US, and they sold the company on to somebody else who's now looking after it. And so it'll be interesting to see how they sort of step into the breach now.
Totally agree. I'm
a bit hazy on that, but I think a lot of their best stuff has happened since they got sold off.
All right.
I think. I remember hearing something about this.
Yeah.
No,
Interesting.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that, Julian.
Okay. I'm sure it'll come to light.
It will.
Someone will know. Someone better,
Yep.
more knowledgeable than us, sort of
Yep.
recalling from memory.
Yes. Someone will set us straight anyway.
Well, speaking about biplanes, ICM have announced...
Yeah, releasing a 32 scale Stearman.
Yes, the Cadet, the PT-17, which was a training aircraft that the US used. It's pretty much the US answer to the Tiger Moth in regards to a trainer.
Correct. Yep.
It was actually made by Boeing, I believe, and it served as military trainer in the 30s and 40s for the USAAF, the US Army Air Force, for the Navy, also the Royal Canadian Air Force. And the Canadian Lend-Lease Model 75s are actually called the Cadet, spelt Kaydet. And for some reason, the name stuck over time, but I've always known it as a Stearman. So now the guy who wrote, was it Flight of the Intruder? I can't think of his name now. He's an author, and he wrote quite a few follow-on books as well. He actually bought one of these and flew it right across the US and wrote a book about it, which was a really fascinating read. Beautiful-looking aircraft, and from what we're looking at the CAD drawings...
Yeah, it's got a nice interior. Got the internal framing and...
Engine looks not too bad. Could do a bit more sort of work on it, but by and large, it looks pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So
They've done right with that one.
We'll just have to wait.
Yeah,
and see.
ICM's just one of those companies that just keeps going up and up and up in their quality.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing some really, really interesting stuff.
And some good, interesting subjects that not many people have tackled.
Yeah, very true. Okay.
Yeah, and they're sort of all over the place as far as scale goes. 32nd scale? Is 48 scale still very much a mainstay thing of theirs? Yes, really odd.
But don't they also do a 32 scale I-16? Or is that someone else I'm thinking of?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah, an I-16.
Maybe it's because as a result of wing-up wings that are leading the way in this, anything in any biplanes now are done in that scale.
Yeah,
it's a standard.
I think 32 scale is now pretty much the standard for biplanes. Well, they're not big aircraft to begin with, especially the fighters and so forth, and they're so much easier to work on in that larger scale.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. All right.
Yep.
Have you guys got any new modelling news?
No.
I don't know.
Well,
not at all.
Our
there you go.
But the Falcon has written in and has given us a whole heap of stuff to talk about. So I'll run through. So new announcements for aircraft. Fine Molds have announced a limited edition 148 scale Brewster B339 Buffalo. It's the old Tomei kit with a set of Fine Molds posable styrene seat belts and 2-man refueling seat. There are going to be 4 marking options for the aircraft, one of which is one captured by the Japanese, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah. I think that would have been, I think it was one of the New Zealand aircraft the Japanese had, which they captured from Malaysia.
Oh, okay. In what looks like a bit of a theme, Fine Molds have also announced a limited edition 148 scale Messerschmitt ME 109E-7. Again, it's an old Tamiya kit. Less old this time, but still not that young. It also comes with a set of posable styrene seat belts and 2-figure set. This time they are mucking about with a machine gun, i.e. the 2 figures. The 2 decal options are going to be for aircraft purchased by the Japanese for a bit of comparison testing. So that'd make an interesting subject.
Yeah.
Now, the next one's real exciting. Micromeer have shown CAD renders for a new 148 subject, a Curtis Robin, Who can believe it? Finally, we are getting a Curtis Robin. How long have modelers been begging for this one?
I'm actually going to type it in because that doesn't even ring a bell with me what the Curtis Robin even looks like.
I'm struggling.
It sounds like a trainer.
Okay, well, that took me to some woman called Robin Curtis. Okay. Oh, yeah, it looks like one of those bush planes.
Yeah, well, actually, the Falcon was writing in. He was being a bit sarcastic because he says, I hope you read the last part sarcastically because literally no one has been begging for a kit of the Curtis Robin. Very few probably even know what one is. According to Wikipedia, it's a high-wing monoplane first flown in 1928. 769 were built, and its main claim to fame is that it was the mount of Douglas's Wrongway Corrigan, who made the unauthorised transatlantic flight in one. So,
right.
There you go.
Actually, I like the front of it. The front where the prop sits, the front panel looks great. It looks like an old, I don't know, it looks like an old car, an old vintage car.
It looks like a tractor.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like a tractor.
Yeah, because it's square.
I like it.
It's quite literally a box.
Yeah, box with wings. Mind you, it'd be a baby to land. Look how far apart those wheels are.
Yeah.
That'd be one of the easiest aircraft to land.
Continuing on, the Falcon continues on with Minia have announced yet another variation of the 135th Auto Gyro theme. This time it's the Frenchies' turn with the Leo et Lever. Leo LEO C30A, which is a slightly disappointing. It is the early version instead of the later one with the Samson engine, so you don't have the option to do one of those cool multicolour camouflage schemes.
Oh no.
Edward have announced they're going to be doing a Ziln Trenair family in 148 scale. From the Z126 up to the Z526, probably more Zins than most people want if they're really being honest. However, being modern Edward kits, they will no doubt be very, very good, and we modelers do like a nice kit, so they'll probably be all right.
That we do.
Wolfpack Design, who are more known for doing special reboxings of other company kits, have announced they are working on a new tool of their own. They are showing early CAD renders of a 117. Now, I don't know whether this scale is right. A 117 Northrop F5E Tiger 2.
Ah. The Tiger 2. I always liked the Tiger 2. It's a great looking little aircraft.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether it's 172nd that's supposed to be as the typo.
Oh, it probably would be, yeah.
Yeah, 117 seems a bit odd.
That'd be big scale. That'd be a big aeroplane at 117 scale.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Unusually, it's news about kits that are about to be released, but this is news of a kit that isn't coming out. Airfix were intending to re-release their 148 scale C Vixen, but people who have pre-ordered the kits have had their money refunded and have been told that the kit has been cancelled, presumably a victim of the COVID-19.
Ooh, that's a shame.
Moving on to armour. Riffield models have done what we all suspected they would do and have announced a 135th Sherman with full interior. To be precise, it's an M4A376 with full interior and workable track links. This sort of ought to make a lot of people happy, as there have been long calls for a Sherman with interior bits. Though it's likely that once you get the kit in their hands, they'll be complaining that it's too complicated. What do you reckon, Julian?
Well, they'll probably complain that it's too expensive.
Well, you're the Sherman boy, fanboy.
Yeah, cause there's those. I know Riffield kits because they're known for having the interior. They also get a bit of a rap for being expensive. But yeah, they seem to be pretty nice kits. I've only heard good things.
Oh, we'll wait and see, I guess. You going to buy one?
Oh, maybe not for a while. Just because I like the Sherman as a tank doesn't mean I'm always looking to buy one. I don't want to be one of those people that end up with like a big stack of the same vehicle or plane.
Oh, you mean me? You mean me?
Yeah,
What have you got?
Hang on, I'll just open the cupboard door here. All right, Hannah Mags. All right, SDKF said 251. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13. 13 Hannah Mags. Mind you, they're all different.
Yeah, okay.
And let's
Are you going to be selling them off at some point?
No.
Let's not forget your FW190s as well.
Yeah, I've got a lot.
And your P40s.
I've got 13 built and probably another 10 or 11 190s in the stash. P40s, well, I've lost count. And I'll probably buy more when Edward releases their BCs.
Oh, geez.
Which means I'll be getting rid of all my Airfix 48 scale P40Bs.
All right, Border Models will add another 135th Panzer IV to their lineup. The latest one is a 2-in-1 boxing of a Panzer IV OS F2 and G. Supposedly, despite some problems, the Border Mark IVs are pretty nice and come in a reasonable price, so make a good alternative to the Dragon Mark IV kits.
Which is super expensive now.
Yeah. Mini Art have just announced another in their long line of 135th scale T54/55 kits. They're calling it a Croatian T55A. Just between you and me, I think they are starting to make up some of these, says the Falcon. Still with Mini Art, a new kit in progress from them is also a T60, which was screened plant number 264 Stalingrad. This is their 10th kit based on the Soviet T60 light tank and will be the 7th version of the gun tank. As a person who has bought all 6 of the gun tanks already released, I can just say to Mini Art, stop it, just stop it. Obviously, he doesn't want to spend any more money. Mini Art again, they've announced another kit based on their 135th scale Mercedes-Benz 170V. For those of you who are bits of wowzers and couldn't come at the beer wagon version of the 170V, Lieferwagen, Mini Art have a non-alcoholic version just for you. All 4 marking options for the Deutsch delivery van are at this time absolutely booze-free. There you go. In small scale, Zvezda will soon release a 172nd scale Soviet T-28 medium tank. Can't say much about this one, but if it's anywhere near as nice as Zvezda's recent 135th scale T-28, there should be a winner. And Galaxy Hobby have announced a 172nd scale M1224A1 Max Pro, which comes with, I don't know what that is. An M1124A1. Some sort of armour. Kit comes with photo wet sheet. Looks like Galaxy will also be producing some accessories in the form of crew figures, stowage, and additional PE. And for those of us who like building stuff that floats, Micromere are showing sprues and box art for a 135th scale Wellman submarine. The Wellman is a British one-man midget submarine, though I think the politically correct term is dwarf. Submarine developed by a Special Operations Group. Looks interesting. Wouldn't want to go in one, though. Pretty good chance that any trips in it were of the one-way variety. That's all I have for this week. The Falcon. Oh, thank you very much, Falcon.
Yes.
Well, that's it. That's all I got for what's new in the modelling world, really. I have to say, we've got... Yeah, go on.
So I was just looking at the M1224 Max Pro.
Yeah.
It's actually like a modern US, what do you call them? Like the counterinsurgency vehicles, you know?
Oh.
Looks like the front of a truck mounted on a armored vehicle.
Yep, gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
It's one of the shortish ones, not one of the ones that are like very, very long.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This may have been one of the because if you pay attention, I don't pay much attention to these sort of vehicles. Really, they look okay, but there's a lot of them, right?
Well,
and they're all operated by the US at some point or another. And I think part of the reason I heard of is because one of them, and it might be this one, they don't have interchangeable parts. Like
Yep.
no two are alike, kind of a thing, which is a big no-no for a modern military.
Yeah, totally right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of a World War II thing,
Yeah.
and that's why I think they got rid of it. But I don't know if
Yeah.
it's this one or on another vehicle, so don't quote me.
Well, I just found something that might interest Dave too.
Yeah, what's that?
In June this year, Hasegawa is going to be releasing in 1/350 scale the Imperial Japanese Navy light cruiser, the Noshiro. That's going to be looks like a new tool from Hasegawa.
Gee, how long's it been since Hasegawa's done a new tool?
A long while.
It has.
A long while. And Revell's looks like they're releasing in August Zvezda's HMS Dreadnought, 1/350 scale.
Just going back to the Hasegawa thing, they're terribly expensive, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, gee, the ship kits aren't too bad.
No, the aircraft carriers are very expensive.
Yes, I know. I've had my eye on a couple.
Yeah, I think we'll let that one go.
Yeah.
All right, how about we move? We've had a ton of mail in. Let's do our mail call, shall we? And there's been a whole heap of mail that's come in, and thank you very much for all those of you who've been writing into us. If you want to send us an email, you can do so by typing in onthebench64@gmail.com, and that actually gets through to us. Much like our friend Yardstick has written in. And Yardstick writes, "Hello, benchers. I recently heard on one of your podcasts that taping yellow decals to sunlit windows will remove the yellow effects of age. I had a very yellow set of decals from the 1200 Hasegawa and set 727 aircraft. I taped them to the inside of my bedroom window facing the morning sun. While waking to the morning sunrise was more like a hallucinogenic mushroom trip with stars with a colourful tails flooding into the room, as little as 2 days the yellowing was completely gone and the decals applied perfectly. I
Great news.
I now have all my yellowing items taped to the window from a set of Zvezda 172nd Forker 7 Southern Cross decals to my cricket trousers. Thanks for the tip, guys."
Cricket trousers.
He goes, in regards to episode 79 at the 1 hour and 9 minute 29 second mark, what do I do with browning decals? Thank God for Ian's isolation. Regards, the Yardstick.
Yes.
For our international viewers, listeners, I should say, who don't know what cricket trousers look like, they're just white trousers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very hard to keep white.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Ian Macaulay actually writes in, and he sent me some pictures of his man cave because after I posted mine on Facebook, and I'll post them onto our Facebook page because he's got a nice little man cave there. So I must
cool.
I must post them on. So I've got actually nothing really to read there from you. Yeah. Let's see who's next. Okay. Ian Fraser writes to us, and he writes in, "Hello, podcasters. This is both for the Scale Model podcast and on the bench. Here at the IPMS Hamilton, we are happy to sponsor the Musaru 2 competition that brings together the modelling world through your respective podcasts in Good Natured Modelling Challenge. This challenge is to pit internationally renowned broadcasters of exceptional modelling skill, talent and charm and charisma against each other in order to determine who is worthy of the Musaru Cup. For this year's challenge, the subjects and the competitors have already been chosen. The organisers, as well as the co-conspirator, Les of Lightspeed Distributing, have acquired the kits that will be needed for the competition. The original, well-laid-out plans to introduce this year's challenge at Heritage Con 14 was sidetracked by the ongoing major inconvenience. This has forced us to determine an alternative way to announce the latest Musaru challenge. They, people with considerably more tech savvy than me, told me that this interweb email thingy is a good way to move information around the world quickly, so let's give it a try. So, for the Moosaroo 2 Cup, the building challenge is for the Scale Model podcast, of which Stuart's going to be building. It's going to be the Avaro Sierra C30A, which is a roto chopper. What's those helicopter things that fly? Gyrocopter, thank you very much. And that's by Mini Art, and it's in 1/35th scale. And Julian is going to be, for representing on the bench, is going to be representing a military version of that, which is the FL282 V16 Colibri. There you go.
Colibri. Yeah.
Yes.
Colibri.
So the rules this year are simple. Build the kits any way you wish. You can add any aftermarket modifications or details that you wish. You can modify the kit in any way you wish as long as the original kit subject is identifiable. In other words, anything goes. The only restriction is it must be built by the designated modeler. No subcontracting or backroom help. With this continuing COVID confusion, the final deadline is set for the return of the Heritage Con in 2021. And the kit's going to be mailed out shortly to us. Good luck to our competitors. Keep up the great work with both your podcasts. They're becoming essential modelling service for those of us who are isolated or not. Your podcasts have become virtual model clubs of the world. And that's from Ian Fraser and Alan Murrell of IPMS Hamilton.
Fantastic. Well, Julian, ball's in your court now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. So the Colibri is the first helicopter kind of thing made by the Germans.
All right.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
Hey.
There's a few different boxings, and in that email, I think it might be the Russian or a Russian captured kind of impression of it.
Yep.
I think so. Yeah. Well, I think the challenging part is going to be not just building it, but also getting it shipped across the other side of the world without getting it broken.
Yeah.
That's going to be a challenging
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
So-
I definitely wouldn't be putting the propeller blades on it for sure.
No, yeah. We'll have to sort of put our heads together as the best way to sort of ship it across the world before you even start building it. So,
I think a can of full of foam might work. Put it in a box and just empty a can of full of foam.
yeah, absolutely.
They can chisel it out when it gets there.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
So I think it's one of those choppers with the contra-rotating props,
All right.
or what do you call them, rotors, where there's two separate rotors side by side and they interlace because they're at angles.
Yep.
Yeah, which is it's not like a regular chopper where you could probably leave off the rotor and then have it be able to just sit on, because these would have to be glued on at the appropriate angles.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be tricky to set up for mailing out.
We'll think of something. All right, next email comes from Ethan Idenmill from San Diego, and he writes in response to your question about the best kit. I think a model isn't just a product, it's an experience, which I think aligns with David's idea of taking into account the mindset. My favourite model was an old kit, the Tamiya 135 Type 97. I built it once as a kid and then built it again last year. It's my favourite because the overall experience. First, although it's an old kit, it went together well, even though the rubber band tracks were pretty straightforward once I got the hang of working with them. Second, I did new things with this kit, such as printed my own decals and learned to make headlight lenses. While I built it, I was also building an Academy M1A1, which is a newer kit, but had far more issues. So the comparison may have helped the Type 97 seem better. Side note, I built it as a Hello Kitty tank, inspired by a somewhat similar SR-71 I saw years ago at the IPMS Nationals. And he's attached some pictures of it. Question for you, what do you think the future of modelling contests and gatherings, even once the lockdowns have ended, do you think things will immediately return to where they were, or will model gatherings be more subdued? Will virtual model contests become more prevalent? By the way, a friend in New Zealand has set up a weekly model building gathering on Zoom that has been a blast. One of the cool things about this is that it's opening more eyes up to virtual meetings that can include people from all over the world and not just people from the same locality. Best regards, Ethan, webmaster for IPMS San Diego. Well, I'll tackle the last question you wrote. So I think that once everything has returned to normal, I think we'll see model shows come back with a screaming vengeance. I really do. Because so many people will have so many kits that they want to. And at the heart of it, surprisingly, I think modelers are quite sociable beasts. We like sort of gathering together in herds and talking about our triumphs and our failures and arguing over whether the turret of a T-76 built in November 1943 had a weld line here or a weld line there. I think it's just inherent in us.
In small doses, at least.
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying, though, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I think we can all appreciate how much better it is to view a model in person than rather in a photo.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
It is a much more sort of in-person type thing than it is a virtual thing. Having said that, though, I mean, I know our club has certainly been doing some online stuff, and I've heard of a lot of other sort of modelling clubs doing something similar, either using Zoom or some other type of electronic way of getting together. And I think it's getting us through, but it just doesn't sort of fill that void, does it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Definitely doesn't. We need to interact.
Yeah, we do. We do need to interact.
But yeah, well, the future. I think it might take a while before it all comes back to how it was, if it ever does.
Oh, I think it will come back. I really do. I've got no doubt whatsoever, and I think it will come screaming back. It's like pulling an elastic band and letting it go.
Yep.
And I reckon the first 2 years of modelling competitions are going to be huge with the amount of models that are going to be displayed. And I think that's going to be a headache for show organisers more than anything else as to how they're going to judge the huge amount of kits that are being put in.
Yep.
Anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Yep, no. Quite valid.
Next email comes from Thomas Gardner. Hello, Dave, Ian and Julian. Happy Easter. Thanks very much
Thomas,
for all your hard work putting together this fantastic podcast. I thoroughly enjoy listening to new podcasts as they drop, a real bright spot in these unusual days. I've been a Patreon supporter for around 6 months. Thank you very much, Thomas. And also enjoy the other international modelling podcasts out there. I'm 39 years old and live up the road from you in Ringwood, Victoria. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, local lad.
Just a local boy. And have been modelling aircraft, sci-fi and armour since I was around 7. I really enjoyed your recent episode on what makes a great kit, and I would agree with you, Dave, that it can be subjective and that the particular subject matter aligning with your specific area of interest is a massive consideration. Ian?
Yep.
There are a few key criteria I look for when trying to choose a great kit. Firstly, value for money. I try and choose a kit that is going to give me maximum bang for my buck. A kit that will offer high quality of detail and fit, and preferably include a few extras such as canopy, masks, PE frets, resin parts, etc., while not costing the earth. Often the cheaper kits out there require significant financial outlay to bring them up to the standard of a higher price kit and negate the actual attraction. Well, that's all very well and true unless you're buying a Hasegawa Japanese aircraft carrier. Also, it's got to be historically and geometrically accurate. There's nothing worse than ending up than needing to buy tons of aftermarket accessories or do a lot of scratch building to correct a particular kit's deficiencies if you don't absolutely have to do so. Yep. I resonate with Julian's comment regarding Eduard kits. I have found the profile pack range kits to be a joy from opening the box and placing the finished model in the cabinet. I just completed their 1/48 scale FW190 straight from the box and would recommend these to anybody of intermediate skill level upwards, as it was the best modelling experience I've had to date. I love Tamiya kits, but I reckon Edward have the edge in options and detail. Generally, they have many more markings and multimedia parts, etc. Also, Dave, as someone who has never attempted a ship model, what kit would you recommend to someone looking to step into this area? You mentioned a particular Japanese Tamiya cruiser. I saw Plasmo building a Trumpeter Roma battleship on YouTube in 1/700 scale. It looked gorgeous, but the tiny scale and PE parts looked a bit intimidating. By the way, I definitely have a love-hate relationship with PE. If you could buy one PE tool to do general bending, what would you recommend? Keep up the great work and enjoy the extra build time. Regards from Tom Gardner. Well, I would recommend if you're going to build a ship, definitely make it a Tamiya one and make it a late one that's been produced in the last 10 years, because they just fit together like a dream. That would be my recommendation for a ship. Also in 1/350 scale. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, my thoughts, if you don't like photo etch, depending on your space, I'd probably recommend the Revell 1/72 scale German S100 torpedo boat.
Oh, the Schnell boat. Yeah, of course.
The Schnell boat.
Yeah.
That is a brilliant kit for Revell. Absolutely. You don't need any photo etch, just plonk it together. Everything fits well. It's well engineered. It's not too small. At 1/72 scale, the detail isn't too hard to deal with. And I found it when I built mine years ago. It was probably one of the most enjoyable experiences of model building I had for a long time.
You did enjoy that. I remember you building that and you had a smile from ear to ear for the whole time you were building it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great kit to build.
Oh, there you go.
Well, that's my recommendation.
Okie dokie. Moving on. Next email. Sorry, Julian. Go on.
Well, I was going to say, like, I mean, if photo etch is not your friend, quote unquote, I think you'll be more comfortable with it after you've done a ship.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
You know, like once you've seen the scariest that photo etch has to offer, everything else sort of pales by comparison. It's no big deal.
Yep. I totally agree.
That's true. But the thing about the Tamiya kits is that you can build them out of the box and they look great without photo etch. They look all right.
Yeah.
So that'd be my recommendation.
They don't come with any?
They do come with a limited amount. It depends which kit. Of course, there's always the other way of building a submarine, because that gets you to whet your appetite. Excuse the pun. That gets you to whet your appetite, and you don't have to worry about photo etch at all if you're building a modern submarine. So, just a thought.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Adam Greenwald writes in... Dave, Ian and Julian, just a quick note of caution regarding scanning decals. For some unknown, and we spoke about this, that whether you should or shouldn't scan your decals in case you have an accident with your decals, and that way you can reprint. Just a quick note of caution. For some unknown reason and somewhat frustrating reason, my scanner reduces the size of the decals or the printer when I have done a test print. So don't assume you have an accurate scan of any decals. Do a test print to check both the size and colour capture by the scan. Otherwise, you could be very disappointed. On another note, surely the best kits ever are the ones you plan to build next when you get inspired to buy them. Actually, that's quite a good point. It's a good one, Adam. Adam goes on and finishes off with, keep on doing what you're doing, really enjoying it.
I remember, Ian, you did one of those once. You bought that Waffenträger, and you just built it immediately.
Yeah. I just saw it and bought it and thought, I'll start it, and I built in about 3 weeks. That was a great little kit to build.
Next up, we have Joel Middleton from the UK. I emailed you back around Christmas, and thank you for getting me back into the hobby. Since then, I've been quite productive, and I have found as a result of your ship chat that I love building model ships. We brought one to the dark side. I have now built 2 and have 2 others in the stash to build soon. On the topic of your discussion from about a month ago on kit manufacturers, I was surprised that Flyhawk didn't get a mention. They seem to be the mung of 1/700 scale ship kits and are quite beautiful.
Oh, that they are.
Yeah, and actually there was quite a few that we actually missed, didn't we? Really? So
Yeah.
I think we touched on the main ones. And But anyway, yeah, but you're right. Flyhawk are a great little manufacturer.
Yeah, definitely.
Joel goes on to say that they do PE for all ships that they make, and the kits can usually be brought with or without the PE. They even do some special detail sets which come with turned brass gun barrels, ushi line, and resin details included, making it possible to build something insane straight out of the box. Thank you for stepping up in this stressful time, and good luck in the upcoming Musaru Cup. Stay safe, Joel.
Thanks, Joel.
And
Thank you
Joel
very much.
writes that he is a Juliet member 17106. I'm waiting for the response from Julian.
No, I don't think you get one.
He doesn't get one. There you go.
No comment.
No comment.
Oh, jeez. Okay, let's have a look now. Andy Roche, Rauch, R-A-U-C-H. I have trouble with German.
Roush.
Sorry, Andy. He writes saying, "Hey guys, wonder if I might suggest a show about making bases for your models, what materials to use and techniques. Really loved what Ian did with his Godzilla base and was wondering exactly how to go about creating landscapes for dioramas. Thanks again for everything you're doing for the hobby, Andy."
Yeah, that's an idea we could talk. That's something we haven't touched on yet.
No, we haven't. And
Basing.
I've never done a base, so I'm completely sort of out in the wild for that one.
I've done a few.
Yeah,
I find dry brush. I haven't done much. I've only done a bit with my Warhammer type stuff because you've got these little tiny round bases that go on them. But I think dry brushing goes a long way when you're doing sort of terrain and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, if you really want to get some good ideas, you got to go to things on YouTube. Boulder Scale Railways or something like that? Luke Towney.
Boulder Creek.
Yeah. Watch his videos. This guy does the best groundwork.
Yep.
He does some really good stuff.
Train modeler.
Yeah. And look, that's where I got most of my inspirations from. The train modelers. Because those guys have been doing bases since, I don't know, Cocky was an egg.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing that I think that captures us about his work is because he's Australian and he does Australian-looking dioramas.
Yes.
And they look so Australian.
They do, yeah.
You know, the thing about like the Australian landscape, if you know you're not from here, is that if you find any kind of photo online, you're like, oh, that's a gum tree in the background, and you sort of start looking for things, and you're like, oh, that's definitely Australia. You can tell immediately by having a look at it.
Yeah,
I'm sure our American friends and European friends have similar sort of things that they can hone in on and pick out and know exactly sort of roughly where that is if it's familiar to them, you know. And you know, none of the standard railway fare, as far as I know, really caters towards anything, you know, Australia specifically, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that he's able to pull it off to such a high degree and make it look easy, you know, it's very it really impresses you.
Yeah,
if you're an Australian modeler, anyway.
Definitely agree. But no, that's something we could definitely talk on one of the next upcoming episodes.
Yeah, I think we'll try and track somebody down who's a bit of an expert in that area and get them on the show.
Yeah.
Next email comes from a listener in California, and he writes, suppose you want to do fine airbrushing but also need to be able to handle situations where you need to cover large areas of a model quickly with a single colour or varnish. Paul Budzik made a video where he covered the subject of mini spray guns. These are typically high-volume, low-pressure devices that deliver large amounts of paint without requiring high pressure. The only requirement is you need a compressor that can deliver a reasonably high volume of air. This is an excellent compromise here where you can do both with a single airbrush. The Grex Genesis XGI falls into the same price range as an iWater HP CS Eclipse. It will not only permit interchangeable needle sets ranging from 0.2mm up to 0.7, but they also sell what is called a fan cap. You buy one to match your needle size and it replaces the cap on the front of the airbrush. The front of your airbrush now looks identical to what you would have with a mini spray gun.
Yep.
Aware of the requirements that come with trying to spray like a mini spray gun, the fan cap comes with specifications for how much airflow is required for each needle size to make the fan cap work properly. Most mid-range compressors will be able to deliver the air required. Very small or budget compressors may not be able to do the job. The spray pattern is not round but elliptical and will consequently be able to deliver large amounts of paint with each pass of the airbrush. This accessory is in the range of about $40 US. Now permits Grex's conventional fine detail airbrush to cover large areas quickly, such as doing a base coat or a pass of varnish. Not sure how widely this is available outside the US, but it's something you might want to consider in the future. And that's from a listener in California.
Oh, very interesting.
Some of my base.
I know of Paul Budzik.
Yeah.
And his videos are at the opposite end of the sort of like if you've got like a spectrum of products where it's like, oh, here are products that can do as much for one, like do as many range of things as possible. He's at the complete opposite end. He's a guy that will take a tool, machine it to do one specific kind of scribing for one specific plane.
Yes.
You know, everything about his way of modeling is about specialization and buying specialized tools for specialized purposes. So, I mean, it's almost, I thought it was a bit funny because, that's not generally who you turn to for advice on general purpose sort of jack of all trades type tools.
True, but the airbrush that he named there,
the Grex.
yeah, the tool brush that I use is it's the tool brush, the airbrush I should say that I use. I can fit 3 different types of needle in there, and so I can go right down from a, I don't know, 0.3 up to a 0.7, I think, 0.3, 5, and 7.
I think it's like 0.2 to 0.7,
Yeah,
right? 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, and 0.7.
Yeah. And so that gives me a bit of flexibility. But what I do is, because the airbrush is that cheap, I got 2 airbrushes and just keep the one needle in them the whole time, so I don't have to constantly change needles. And I was planning on buying a 3rd one this year, but obviously because the model show's closed, I decided not to. So, yeah, putting high volume stuff down, like big base coats, and I can think of, like, if you're doing a 1/200 scale ship, for example, and you want to put a base coat down on that, you'd certainly need a larger airbrush that has a capacity to pump out large volumes of air and paint and put it down in a way that you're not spending 6 hours trying to airbrush the darn thing. So, I think it's a good idea.
Actually, I think Paul Buzzy actually criticizes the use of fan nozzles.
Does he really?
Yeah, because he, like I said, he's the guy you go to for specialized, information on specialized tools. So, for example, he does lots of videos that talk about all the different airbrushes he's got, and he's got a lot because he uses an airbrush to clean out an airbrush. Yeah. I'm not even joking on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for when he does large stuff, he uses that Iwata RG3, which is like a miniaturized spray gun.
Yeah, I know the one. Yep.
The cup is huge on it. It's a pistol grip. And I think if my recollection of his videos is correct, like he actually talks about how like the spray nozzles for airbrushes are kind of I don't think he uses the term gimmick, but he sort of was a bit dismissive of them, how they're no substitute for the proper tool.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I mean, I don't really see the. I mean, like, and I think probably the best compromise is probably an airbrush where you can interchange needles.
If you're cost conscious and your budget's limited, absolutely. But
Yeah.
But like we spoke about this before. I mean, airbrushes are that cheap now that you can almost you can pick them up for about $30, $20, $30, and you can afford to perhaps have 2, 3, or 4 with different size needles in them and just sitting there ready to go. Even you can go down the road like Ian does and have one that's purely just for doing metallics, for example.
Yeah. Well, I got the 3. I got one for colour, one for metallic, and one really big one for doing big jobs.
Yeah. There you go.
Also, Paul Budzik's method of painting is sort of very sort of old-fashioned, orthodox, and like the proper method kind of thing. So when he primes, he sprays wet, and he tries to get as much in one pass as possible, kind of thing. All those sort of classic painters, spray painters, rules and guidelines and all that sort of thing. So, like for example, his video one where he talks about and he uses like a 350 scale ship hull as a target example, and he sort of shows how, like, if you try to use an airbrush, you're just running this little line up and down the ship. But if what you really need is a big spray gun kind of thing, like the one he uses. And but see, like, if you care about doing it his way, right, then only a big, like a miniature spray gun type of thing will be acceptable to him.
Yep.
And that's why he has one.
Yep.
But if you're just a regular guy with an airbrush, you just take longer. And you work your way from one end of the ship to the other doing little zigzags,
Yep.
It'll take you a long time. It's rather, it's like trying to, you're using a tool that's far too small for quite a large job, but it's what you've got. You're not going to spend unless you're like painting ships on the regular and like churning them out. There's no real reason to go up to like a big spray, miniature spray gun type of thing, like a special, couple of $100 tool for something that you only like. Even if you're a really prolific shipbuilder, you're still not churning out more than like 3 ships a year, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they take so much time.
They do. All right. We've got last email from Andrew Nikeville. I hope I pronounced that right, Andrew. Hi guys, I'm an ex-RAAF and currently a disability support worker. I listened to your podcast driving around Adelaide. Thanks for your recent episode on this subject. I loved it. I have been in both camps on what makes a great kit. My attitude used to be that there is no such thing as a bad model. It was only the skill level of the model maker that determined the success of the build. Oh, gee, I don't know about that. This is my experience, at least in my preferred genre of Cold War Soviet jets, at least until maybe 10 years ago when I brought the new tool Airfix 172nd MiG-15. This fitted together so well, I had such an easy experience building it that I brought their new tool 172nd P51 for giggles. I did read somewhere that they are now designing their new moulds from LiDAR scans of full-size aircraft and museums. The shake and bake kits in the new millennium have got me to broaden my horizons. I love Wingnut Wings World War I stuff. I hope they survive. And I have gotten into World War II from easy-to-build kits that are available now. I maintain, though, that passion for the subject is what makes a model kit enjoyable. For example, I'm currently building the Testers 148 scale Ryan STM S2, which doesn't come with any cockpit detail at all, and I'm having a ball scratch building it. I guess I've discovered the different types of joy that the hobby contains, and if you fall into one camp, then try to understand the perspective from the other side. Keep up the good work. Regards, Andrew. Well, there you go. Yeah, if I've got a bad kit, it's a bad kit. I'm binning it. I'm not persevering. I'm not an Ian. I haven't got the patience of Ian to persevere. or should I say the stubbornness of Ian? I'm not stubborn.
Yeah, I think it's more the stubbornness, mate. I will not let it beat me.
No, I can't say I'm no. But, for those of you who can do it, good luck to you. I wish I could have that. So, all right, well, that's it.
See,
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I just want to chime in that, if a kit is determined to beat me, I will let it beat me and move on to one that doesn't want to beat me.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that's a good spot to have a break, and we're going to come back. We're going to have to talk about rigging. I think we haven't really.
Let's have a chat about rigging.
We haven't really spoken about rigging in detail for. I think we've touched on it when we spoke about ship models, but we need to sort of go into a little bit more detail. So we'll be back very shortly. Fine Scale Modeler is proud to support On the Bench. Fine Scale Modeler is the world's most recognised and essential magazine, and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands, or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, go to their website, www.finescale.com, and subscribe to either the print edition or the digital edition, or why not both? Go now. Go to www.finescale.com. And we're back to have a chat about rigging and rigging your models. Now, rigging is mainly used on ships, submarines, and aircraft. I can't think when you'd want to use rigging for armour or cars. I don't think you'd need that at all.
Well, for armour, there are some applications, not many. For example, like some antennas will get tethered down.
Oh, of course, yes. Good point. So,
and there's something to be said for maybe something in the way of like camouflage netting and things like that. Maybe
tie down points for camouflage netting, possibly. Yeah, I guess so. But mainly, I guess the traditional way of doing rigging, and particularly for ships and in the early days for aircraft, were that you do the stretch sprue method. And what the stretch sprue method entailed was you get off-cut of sprue from the kit you were building. You get a candle or a lighter, and you melt one end, and then you dab it down on your mat and quickly pull it, so you get a long, stringy piece of plastic, which you would then cut to the various size that you needed, and then glue that to the actual model itself. I've never been a big fan of the stretch sprue method because it tends to sag over time, and
it's too fragile. It breaks,
and it's very sensitive to temperature temperature changes. And so you can find that over time there's a potential for it to sort of either snap off or... And then there's the actual gluing of it. When you glue it, you need a sort of a large sort of dab of glue than what you would do if you were using super glue with another method that we're going to be talking about shortly, which is rigging line. But, and then there's the other problem of getting consistency in regards to the size of it as well. It's a bit of a sort of fine art where you've got to continue sort of practice until you can get the right sort of sizing when you're doing it. And
not even between individual pieces of line, but also throughout the entire length of a single piece of line.
Correct,
yes.
It tends to be thinner in the middle and thicker in the ends.
Yeah.
Or the other way around, can be thinner on the ends and thicker in the middle, I guess. It depends how quickly you are with pulling it once you've heated it.
Mm.
But, once upon a time, it was the go-to way of doing rigging, wasn't it?
Well, even before that, people used to use cotton.
Yes, and...
that just looks horrid.
Yeah, it does. The scale doesn't look right with cotton. It attracts...
And you got the fuzziness. of the cotton.
Well, if you do use cotton, the way to get around the fuzziness is you run it through some wax, and that gets rid of the fuzziness.
But wouldn't that make it thicker?
No, not necessarily. But the issue with cotton is that it seems to be a real magnet for dust, and it really attracts dust in a huge amounts. And after about 2 years, the model sitting on your shelf, it looks like it's sort of growing fur from it.
Yeah.
And the other issue with using cotton too is not just the gluing of it, but of course getting the sagging in the right sort of way as well. So it looks real for when you're doing rigging lines and stuff like that. People find rigging quite
intimidating.
Yeah.
It can be.
But it's like all things. It's just practice. And regardless of the medium that you choose, so long as you're comfortable with it and you practice it, you're going to get it right.
Yes.
There's one piece of sort of rigging. I mean, like most of the time, it's sort of like a case of cut it to the appropriate length, stick one end down, and stick the other end down, right? But what do you do when it comes to turnbuckles on World War I aircraft? I'm asking generally the question because I haven't had to deal with this yet. I may not for a while because I don't intend to build my whole one wing nut wings kit there. And I probably wouldn't bother with turnbuckles in 48 scale.
Well, Ian, you've used turnbuckles, have you not?
No.
Oh, okay.
I have some. I have a lot with my that I've got from my wingnut wings kits, but I haven't used any yet.
So turnbuckles, for those of you who don't know what they are, it's a way. Generally, it's a little sort of etched brass piece, and it was used on the aircraft to actually tension the lines between the wings of biplanes.
Yeah.
Hence the reason what's called turnbuckle.
And ships.
Yeah, some ships did use them too. Absolutely, you're correct there. There's
no other choice but to actually tie a knot, is there not?
No, you'd glue the line to the end of the turnbuckle. You connect the turnbuckle to the wing first of all and make sure it's at the right angle, then glue the line to the turnbuckle across to the other turnbuckle.
Yes.
And then to get the effect that you're after. But I haven't done it yet, so I can't really sort of comment on, how it looks, or I guess it depends.
Well, how big are the turnbuckles anyway?
Oh, they're small. In 1/32 scale, they're easy to deal with, but they're still quite small. And the issue with turnbuckles is because it's a brass piece, you haven't got the same forgiveness if you as if you were just stringing it with, say, easy line, which we'll talk about in a minute. You've got to make sure the turnbuckle's sort of sitting in the right angle so that it looks
Tensioned.
correct. Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe we've got some listeners who can write in about their success with turnbuckles. Well, as I said, I've never actually used them.
I've seen a few videos on it. It doesn't look all that difficult.
No. But by and large, of course, the other thing too that we need to mention about what other people use for when doing rigging is that some people have actually used bits of wire, which I don't know how they've managed to do that.
Yeah, look, I've actually in my hands at the moment while we're chatting, I've got a little packet from Model Custom. It's the 0.3 rigging wire. I've used it once. It is I found it quite difficult to use because it's actually metal wire on a roll. So it automatically, once you take it off, it wants to bend back to its circular shape.
Yep.
But I did find it worked well when you're doing a really long wire, like from between the main mast to the secondary mast, because they always have they always hang down a little bit, and you can simulate that a lot. Yeah, the sag, you can simulate that a lot better with this metal rigging wire than you can with either, as you said, Easy Line or Ushi's product.
Yep.
because that will always tend to try and go tight and taut.
Yeah, well,
But as I said, it is a difficult product
so
to use.
you can't get sag, can you?
No, you can't. No.
Oh, you can with Easy Line, absolutely. With well, first of all, we need to sort of talk about that. So the next one that I tend to use the most is something that's known as Easy Line. It's basically it's knitting elastic, is it not?
Yeah, knitting in elastic.
Yes.
The stuff that holds your socks up.
And there's two main brands now. There's Easy Line, which produces it in a range of different sizes, and also Ushi, and he delivers it in a range of different sizes, scale sizes, I should say, as well as different colours. Black, white, and almost like a coppery sort of colour.
Mm.
I find that with by a long mile, that elastic is the best to work with for using rigging. I find by a country mile, you can get the sagging into it. So what you do is you just have lengths that are long enough that the elastic doesn't become elastic; it just sort of droops. Mm-hmm. And that gives you that sort of drooping look that you're after with some types of rigging on ships.
Yes.
Gluing it to the model is the next stage, and this is why I love Easy Line so much, is that you just put a hint of super glue on the point where you want the rigging to start, and just attach the end of the Easy Line to it. Don't worry about too much if you've got some leftovers there, because we'll deal with it how you fix that. Let it dry for a couple of minutes, and then just stretch it across to the next point, and again, just a suggestion of super glue on the plastic part, and then you marry the Easy Line to it, and you'll find that it'll stick quite quickly, and again, just leave it for a couple of minutes for it to dry.
And the other thing with Easy Line too, if once you've got it fully attached, if you do find it has got a bit of a sag, you haven't put enough tension on it, you just get a match, light it, let it burn for a couple of seconds, burn it out, and then just hold the hot end of the match near the Easy Line, and that'll tighten it up.
But not while the match is lit. You're going to blow the match out quick
No,
first. Yes.
Otherwise you'll have two pieces of Easy Line.
Mm. When you've when you've put the Easy Line to the model, generally you'll have a little bit sort of hanging off, a little bit extra there.
Yeah.
The way to clear that off is where the Easy Line is glued to the part, you get a brand new sharp knife or blade.
Or a razor blade. I use a razor blade.
Push it against the part, not too hard, and then you just pull the excess off against the razor at a 45-degree angle, and it'll just snap off. And so then you go.
And what I suggest is if you're doing an aircraft, first point of contact is the actual aerial post, then to the tail or to the wingtip, wherever it's going to, that's where you cut it off. It's a lot easier to cut it off on the tail than it is trying to cut it off the actual aerial post.
Some things to do and don't.
Also, you can sort of measure the tension, because like some of the posts are a bit skinny and they'll bend if you put too much tension on them.
Yeah,
very good point.
I found that happen too. Yeah.
And that's what the next thing I was going to say is don't introduce too much tension, because over a period of time, with if you've got a mast, for example, or an antenna, if you've got too much tension on that Easy Line, or whatever you want to call it, the elastic elastic stuff, if you've got too much tension on it over a period of time, the mast or the antenna will slowly sort of bend and droop.
Yes.
Another way of fixing that or preventing that is if you've got a lot of rigging that you're doing on a particular mast, replace the mast with brass bits, because that will never bend.
Yes.
And that way you can have as much tension as you want. Now, the scaling too, you've got to be, and I've seen some fantastic builds of ships, but they've been ruined because the rigging that they've used is overscale. You've got to be really, really cognizant of looking at ships in photos and taking note of how thick the actual rigging looks. And there's nothing worse than a beautifully made ship and they've got these thick sort of almost like telephone poles that they've used for rigging, and it just looks overscale and completely ruins the effect.
No, I fully agree with you there, Dave. Yeah, that's one thing you've really got to keep your eye on.
And that's
well,
why...
on this topic,
Yeah.
So I once put up an antenna line on a Focke-Wulf 190, and I found I couldn't see it. Like the line was thin enough, and like the color of it or whatever was just thin enough that you couldn't tell it was there. So I actually had to run, and it was dark. It's black-ish line from Ushi, but I found I actually had to get some black paint and just run it along the some just black acrylic paint. I was using the Citadel stuff, and I ran that along the line, and then it completely changed it. You could then see it, but it was never too thick. It just became more noticeable.
Yep.
It was really interesting how it just went from you almost like, unless it was on a perfectly white table and you could see it against that backdrop, you couldn't see it was there. And then after I put the paint on it, it became properly visible, and any normal person would be able to see it was there.
Yeah.
Well, I've got that with some of my ships. The rigging is so fine that you have to actually get in really close beyond the sort of 2 foot level to actually see that there is rigging on it. But if I had have made the rigging heavier, it would be out of scale. So it comes down to the level of realism that you're trying to achieve, I guess.
Yep, totally agree.
And if you're using Ushi or using Easy Line, they come in a range of different different sizes as well. And it's just a case of choosing which size fits the actual scale of the subject that you're building.
Yep.
Painting is another one.
The colour.
Because you mentioned before what use is there for rigging on a tank, and I mentioned the tension. They'll have a tethered down antenna. That's quite an interesting look because you would sort of think, okay, if I'm doing that, then technically the tensioning is on the actual antenna, not the tether, right?
Yep.
Because it's the actual antenna that's being bent into like a curve rather than the actual tether, which is what you would consider the rigging portion of the equation. It's almost the other way around. I've never had to do it. I've seen it done. I don't know how it was done, but I'd be keen to. That's something I'd be interested in. Because I mean, like the actual tether is straight, right? It's perfectly straight because it's pulling down this rod of an antenna and bending it to a curve.
Yep.
Maybe I'd be inclined to. You know what? One way you could do it is if you've got a brass or some other metal for the antenna, which you can get. I've talked about replacement antennas for tanks before, not too long ago. But you could, if you were good enough, you could sort of bend it into a gentle curve, right, without there being any harsh kinks in it.
Yeah.
And then you could just use any kind of rigging line, like you normally use, because that metal bent curved antenna wouldn't conform to the amount of strength a Easy Line has or anything.
Yeah.
Yep. The other thing to keep in mind when you're rigging specifically with ships too is you always work from the inside out. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself into all sorts of trouble trying to get the inner halyards or lines, whatever you're doing, if you've already done the ones on the outside. And another little trick too to make sure that you've got the lines looking as if they're in the right spot is just do a little pencil mark on the cross arm or the yard arm just to let you know where to put the next rigging line that you're doing. I find that helps too. So there's nothing worse than you're doing, like, for example, you got a yard arm that's got about 4 lines coming off the port side and the starboard side, and when you look at it from behind, the lines are all sort of at different gaps. So you got to try and keep that all lined up. And the best way to do that, just a little pencil mark, dab, 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 and then that tells you where to do the next, put the next line down to.
Yeah. Yeah, I realised that pretty quickly when I was doing the USS England.
Yeah.
Because that's got a lot of rigging.
It has.
And I learned pretty quickly to, work from the inside out.
It has. And when you've done it, it's extremely rewarding, is it not? You stand back and you go, oh, gee, it makes a model really pop. It really
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really brings that authenticity to the look.
Yes. And I imagine you get exactly the same. I haven't built one yet, but when you're doing a Wingnut Wings kit or a World War One or even post World War One aircraft that has got rigging between the two wings, you'd have to do that just to make the model pop, wouldn't you? You couldn't, for example, build an aircraft that had biplane aircraft and not do the rigging on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some interesting rigging on, say, MiG-15s, because they've got like an antenna, stalk that sort of sticks out 45 degrees on the side of the fuselage.
Right.
But they've also got like a small, I'm not sure what you would call it, but a small like conical sort of antenna attachment point as well, just below it. And I think some have one or the other, and then I think some have both.
Right.
Very, very odd, yeah.
Well,
that's very odd.
And of course, with everything that we always recommend is practice, practice, practice. So even before, if you're building a ship or an aircraft and you've never done rigging before, just get some of this Ushi line or easy line or whatever method you want to choose and just practice with it first just to see how it goes. Don't use your model as the first thing you're going to test something new on, for goodness sake.
No.
Always have a modelling mule or a test piece to actually practice first your new technique or this new method of doing something before you actually try it on the kit that you've spent a lot of money and a lot of time building, and then have it ruined by something you haven't done right.
Yeah,
And then
totally agree.
And then there's photo etch rigging.
Yeah.
So I've done photo etch rigging, and I didn't. I didn't have any trouble with it, but the kit I did was the Hasegawa Pete, Japanese seaplane biplane, and it had photo etch rigging in that. And as long as you sort of attached one end, and then sort of let it naturally sort of rest at its fixing point at the other end, so that you get as straight a line as possible, it was fine. These were steel photo etch. I have a kit
not the brass.
That has copper photo etch.
Copper or brass?
Copper. It's like, properly
Copper.
sort of pinky orangey, what do you call it, color?
I don't think we've ever seen copper photo etch.
Yeah. Eastern European kit. AMP Moles, I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably not something I want to try. Probably not. Steel. I don't think anyone has anything to be afraid of if it's steel photo etch rigging.
Yeah.
And for biplanes, it actually works out better because if you've ever seen like a biplane up close, those lines are not ropes necessarily. Depending on what era they're built in, they've actually got like a fairing over it so that they're streamlined.
I've thought about that. I have actually used photo etch for rigging when it's come with particular kits, and the trick is to make sure that it's painted properly in the right colour before you actually attach it to the model. because trying to paint it separately afterwards is just fraught with danger and particularly finicky to do.
Mm.
Well, in my case, the plane was the same color all over, so I just installed them and then just painted over the whole thing.
Oh, okay. That would have been easier.
Yeah, paint the thing, yeah. But also, when it comes to painting, I don't know, don't put me 100% on this, but especially around the Second World War or maybe earlier, the antenna-wise, weren't they made of copper?
I
So
don't
when
know.
you got to paint them, you got to paint them a copper colour.
I don't know. I couldn't answer that question.
I just remember reading it somewhere.
No doubt, someone will inform us of the truth.
Yeah, definitely. Won't be the first time we've proven it wrong.
All right, guys. I think that's a good point to sort of finish it up there. We're hard up against the hour and a half mark, so we've got quite a bit. So, what does your next week look like, gents?
Work.
Yes.
Work and sleep. That's all I'm doing lately. These long hours, mate, they kill the modelling.
Oh dear. What about you, Julian?
Well, I'm still tinkering away on these cockpits, and then I'll be doing all the major cleanup on fuselage seams and the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I also have the MB152 out in the garage, half painted, but at some point I have to find the motivation to finish off. But I'd already thrown 2 colors on it, and then I was supposed to come back the next night to do some more, but then it rained really heavy, and it sort of killed my momentum. So it's still out there.
The poor model is languishing in the garage all by itself.
Yeah. It's not right, is it?
No. Well, hopefully I'll get to get a lot more progress done on this Flower Class Corvette I'm building. So I might actually post some pictures of the build, put them up on Facebook for people to have a look at.
I'll be keen to see it because I've got that same kit in my stash too.
Oh, okay. All right, there you go. All right.
With the white ensigns photo etch kit for it.
Oh, I haven't gone with a photo etch. I'm just building it straight out of the box. I'm going to get some old photo etch railings that I've got floating around and just whack them on to sort of make it look okay, but I'm not really going to town. This is just something that get me back into the groove. So,
yep.
All right, well, let's do our sign off. Across to you, Ian.
No worries. Well, photo etch is always your friend.
Julian.
Purchase more tools.
All right, guys, I'll catch you.
I've been here for a while, actually.
Haven't you? Oh, you've been a bit slack.
I've got
I bought some Mr. Hobby. They're called Mr. Hobby putty applicators. They're like a pencil, but they're made out of rubber, and there's 3 different. You got like a point, you got like a curved blade, and you got like a flat chisel, and they're made for applying glues. But I found they work really good for putty applicators.
Oh, okay.
So it's something to keep your eye on.
Yeah, you'll have to when we're out of lockdown, you have to bring them in and show us.
Yes, definitely.
All right, guys, we'll be back next week with our next episode. Not sure what we're going to be talking about yet. And as always, of course, if you want to reach out to us, you can do so on either our Facebook page. Just punch in On The Bench and it'll take you to our Facebook page. Or you can drop us an email at onthebench64@gmail.com. As always, we love hearing from you. So until next week, adios. Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. And don't forget, for more modelling podcast goodness, you can't go past the Scale Model Podcast run by our good friends Stuart and Anthony out of Canada. And, of course, from the US, we have the Scale Model Mojo with Mike and Dave. So tune in and listen to those 2 great podcasts for more of your modelling podcast goodness. Don't forget also the special offer from the Scale Modeler Supply. That's scalemodeler.com.au, where they're going to give you 10% off your next order by using the promo code OTB2020 when you order direct from their website. Great range of paints and tools, and I'm sure that you won't be disappointed using them. All right, guys, that's all we've got for this week. Look forward to catching up with you next week. In the meantime, stay safe and keep building those models.